Okay, hi everyone. Just before it gets into the video, I've just got to make a couple of notes I'd like to say from the get-go. It's a long video. I literally go into virtually every line and try and go through the triple, double meanings of it. So that's why it's a long video. At the beginning of it, I go through the sort of bit of background on the Machiavelli and the mindset that he was possibly in while he was making it, and the reasons behind the album cover and this, that and the other. And also I forgot to press record on one of the middle ones, so I'm going to keep my reaction because I didn't want to do it again. So if the video's a bit out of sync or it sort of doesn't sort of tally up, then forgive me for that. But yeah, the reaction and the sound from me is what you want, just because the screen might not tally up. I'll do the best job I can. But you'll see me getting more and more sort of bedraggled as I go through, not only because I had a few beers last night and I'm a bit tired, but it's so intense, this song, and I didn't realise how intense I was going to get into it. So yeah, apologies for that as well. I'm a bit tired, but yeah, I'm just going to, it's going to cut through to the beginning of it now. So yeah, have a good one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Speak to you later. Welcome all. I'm Steve, a Makavelist. I hope you are too. Hope you're doing all right. I'm all good. Busy chap as always. I've not really got into a rhythm with these. I had a bit of a rhythm going with these reaction videos at one point, but it's just all been blown out the water from trying to sell the house. So I've been painting and glossing and doing fitting kitchens and all that. But yeah, so hoping to get a little bit back more into it now. Now I've decided to jump right ahead. I was going to do Blasphemy as a sort of pinnacle of it, and really hit it hard. But I think because it's quite a complex songs, there's a few simple lines, there's loads of double meanings, triple meanings, maybe even quadruple meanings in the song. So what my theory is that if we go through it now, I've got some notes. We'll go through what I've done, like research wise, and what I've thought of over the years of the song. When I say research, I mean sort of just googling and going on YouTube and reading some of the comments on the reaction videos, all the Blasphemy ones. And on the reaction videos, you tend to get two ones with Blasphemy. There's a few really good ones out there. I can't remember the names of them, but you can hunt them out if you want. But essentially you get ones where they're a bit younger, and a lot of it goes over their head, if you see what I mean, or they're older and they're probably Christian in all honesty, and they read the title Blasphemy and you can see they've already got their kind of defences up because they misinterpret what he means by blasphemy. And they're probably thinking, oh, he doesn't believe in God or Jesus, therefore I don't like him. Whereas in respect, obviously, what we'll get into is it's not about believing in Jesus or God or not, it's the actual organised religion side of it. And this comes in a different, the generations are different. My mum and dad's generation, my generation is a bit more, I hate to use the word, but woke. Just with respect of, you can probably, my mum took me to church when I was younger, up until she basically had no more control of me. And they were, the church was pretty full every Sunday. And I expect if you go now, they're not full every Sunday. And that's the difference. People are following God in their own way rather than, the indoctrined way of the last 600 years or whatever it's been. So yeah, we'll get into it. Let's just start from, so what I'm going to do is run through it with the notes that I've got, and what my interpretations are, and then hopefully you guys can comment and let me know if I've missed something, misunderstood something, you've got your own feelings of it. And then what I'll do at a later date is revisit the song in a second part, hopefully pulling all this information together, and we can get a definitive sort of review, or if you like, a breakdown on Blasphemy, if we like. I mean, it could be more simple than I'm making it out to be. It might be a lot more complex. So anyway, let's get into it a bit. So first of all, let's just wind back a little bit and just look at the album. So you can see the album cover is obviously the most notable thing when you see it is the fact that he's on the cross, or a cross, not the cross, a cross. And also that his, it's not Tupac, it's Machiavelli. So Machiavelli, we all know this, but I'll run through it just in case people don't. He named himself after Niccolo Machiavelli, which is well known. You say you have a Machiavellian plan and all this. It's been like this for years. He was a sort of, I think he was in like the Enlightenment sort of area. He was a political advisor and strategist, and he sort of shunned that life because he's seen the brutal rule of the Pope. I think it was Pope Alexander. Oh God, I've forgotten now. I think it was either Pope Alexander the Fourth or the Sixth. I can't remember. And the bourgeois and those sort of peoples, and he decided to sort of rally against them. Now, already from me just saying that, you can see the similarities with Tupac and the way he looked at things. So it was originally called the 3-day theory. Tends to be two trains of thought on this. The 3-day theory is because it took him 3 days to write the song. Also, you'll notice that Jesus was dead and then rose on the 3rd day. It got changed to the 7-day theory. A lot of the thinking is that it took 7 days it took 3 days to write it and then 4 days to mix it. Therefore 7 days, that's the 7-day theory. Also in the book of Genesis, how many days did God take to create the world? 7 days. So again, there's that double meaning already. Now, from what I gather, I did do a little bit of research on this, and a couple of guys who tended to be the ones who knew what they were on about. I mean, I'm not saying they're definitely right, but I would sort of believe them. Actually said that the album did not take 7 days to make. It might have done in its essence, but there was actually another month or so of the mixing and the editing, and they added in Toss It Up, which you can probably tell because it's a bit out of place, Toss It Up on the album. But maybe I would imagine that was added because it's a bit more of a charty song, if you see what I mean. They could release it as a single. You could release Blasphemy as a single. I expect if it happened today, they could release it and it'd be fine. But back in the days, it's not the sort of song you would release, and the record companies, which we'll get into, definitely don't want that sort of thing going out. So we've got Tupac. It's called the 7-day theory in the end. So we've gone into that. We've got him on the cross, and I don't know if you can see it. You might not on this because it's digitalized. If you've got the album, I would zoom in on my album, but all my CDs are in a box in the loft somewhere. It's all digital. So. What was I saying? Yeah, so it's him on the cross, and if you actually look on the top of the cross, it's got all different cities' names in America, and this is kind of places where he's not welcome in his mind, if you see what I mean. I read an interview with the artist who actually designed the cover for him, and he was sort of saying it's along those lines that he didn't feel welcome in any city, in any place. There's also a little bit of background where the FBI and the police and a few of the others, i.e. record executives, etc., were sort of saying after All Eyes on Me to him to, because there's a definite difference between All Eyes on Me and the 7-day theory with regard to the type of music it is. After All Eyes on Me, the FBI and several other authoritative figures were saying to him, just effectively not take your money and run, but sort of, take your money, enjoy it, and just, live life like every other rapper, if you see what I mean. And this album is you can feel that it's a crossroads for Tupac. He sort of, you can imagine him mentally being stood there going, now, do I want to go down the Machiavelli route and be true to myself, go back to my roots of Tupacalypse and Me Against the World and a few of the more revolutionary, if you like, sort of ideas, and try and lead people to a better life? Or do I want to go down the Tupac who's owned by the record companies and enjoy my cash and just keep making party bangers and, you know, banging tunes, etc, etc, etc. So the album is a real toss-up. You can, you know, excuse the pun, but you can see him sort of tossing it up in his head which way he wants to go. It's almost like he's thinking out loud. And a line that really sticks out for me on this one is in Ghetto Gospel. I know it's an older tune, but it's along the lines of I feel his hand on my brain when I write rhymes, I let the Lord do his thing, or something like that. And this is the type of song whereby, in my mind, you literally can't write this song if you're thinking about writing this song. I can imagine him almost being like an ancient Greek oracle, whereby they sort of, you know, inhaled these chemicals that were coming up through the earth, went into a sort of trance, and then the knowledge that they had in their head, they would sort of say stuff. The same with Tupac, you know. I mean, you can sort of see him getting into the zone, not actually trying to write it like with rhyme schemes and thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to include this, that and this and that on it, but just literally just like right off the top of his head, and it just suddenly be in there after about 15-20 minutes, and he's got this absolute masterpiece. And there's a lot of songs that are like that with Tupac, but that's the feeling I get from this one especially. So at the end of all this, we know that he chooses the Makaveli route, and I believe in his mind, because there's a lot of the Makaveli era songs, as I call them, especially if you're thinking about it, like Black Jesus and a few of the other ones, where he has decided that he needs to get back to what he was put on the earth to do, which is to lead his people, or not necessarily his people, but everyone, to a better life, and not just, you know, sell out, if you like. And that, you know, that might sound harsh, but that's the reality of it, because there has not been anyone, you know, I know there are good rappers out there who sort of touch on social issues, but they're not anywhere on the same level as Tupac or Makaveli was, if you see what I mean. Not in my opinion anyway. You've got the odd ones here and there, but there ain't nothing like this song out there, and I don't think there ever will be. This is some biblical shit. So not only is he, I mean, it sounds hard to say he's comparing himself to Jesus, but you can get the feeling that he was doing he read a lot of religious texts, I would have thought, and sort of, you know, bits, old ancient texts and things like that. And they say when you get too immersed in the Bible or into these religious scriptures that you get a Messiah complex. And, you know, the Life of Brian, Monty Python parodies this really well when they go into Jerusalem, and on every corner there's someone's thinking that they're the Messiah, if you see what I mean. And, you know what I mean, it gets into their head. I think The Simpsons did it as well. But, you know, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but you can see that with the pressure he was under, and when I say pressure, I mean people thought of him as a black superhero, if you see what I mean. They were looking up to him. Even now, just scour the comments on any YouTube video, there'll be many, many, many comments saying, we need him back, please God, take so-and-so and give us Tupac back, or we need a leader like Tupac, or a thing like this. And they're misunderstanding what Tupac did. He gave everyone the rules to be, all, you know, the rules and the ways and the means to be able to go out, get the knowledge for yourself and be a leader. And, you know, what's worse for the people in power, it's not one leader, because they can be easily taken out, which is, if you've got a million leaders, then it's a lot harder to take them out, you know what I mean. It's the old, you know, lop the head off the snake sort of thing from ancient warfare, if you know what I mean. When the leader dies, the whole army crumbles, whereas you know, you know, I'm quite into my ancient Greeks and all that, so you know, like the Persians, for example, if you took the king out, the whole army would just crumble, whereas with like the Spartans or the Greeks, people would fill in all the Romans, you know what I mean, people would fill in, and they were all a leader who could take care of themselves and knew what they were doing, so you could take the commander out and it wouldn't make a lot of difference. So anyway, yeah, so he's got a kind of Messiah complex going on at the moment. at the time he's writing this, I suspect, and he's chosen, like, look, I'm not going to sell out, I'm going to lead my people. He knows that's going to get him in trouble, and he's willing to sacrifice himself, and that is possibly, you know, the greatest sort of likeness to Jesus, if you like, is not the fact that he's going to turn bread into wine or walk on water or be holier than thou. It's the fact that he's willing to put his own life on the line for the betterment of others, if you see what I mean. There's been many over history who've done it. There'll certainly be many more, but he did it well. So anyway, that's a bit of the background on the actual Machiavelli album. So I suppose we better get into the song. Yeah, let's get into it. So